Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about my favorite products from the month of February. I have tried out a lot of things this month. Most of them have been drugstore and found an incredible amount of hits. I've been really surprised at how many of these things I've really ended up loving. I'm gonna warn you guys, a lot of these things you've probably seen me try out or heard about in the trying new makeup drugstore video that I posted, what was that, about a week or two ago? But I do have some updated thoughts about some of these products that I've been using a little bit longer now, as well as a couple other random things thrown in here. I hope you guys are excited about this video. These are my favorite videos to film, to watch. If you are newer to my channel, welcome. I hope that you'll consider subscribing if you have not done that yet. And with that said, let's jump into all the things I've been loving during the month of February. So let's start off with complexion products, and the first thing I have to mention is the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Dewy Foundation. This is their new foundation release that I feel like everyone has been talking about and reviewing on YouTube. I've seen a lot of very mixed reviews on this. Some people seem to absolutely love it. Some people seem to absolutely hate it. I am one of those that absolutely loves it. But now that I've seen other people reviewing, I've kind of gathered a couple of thoughts about this foundation. This is definitely a dry skin friendly foundation. I would say if you have anything other than dry skin, you might not like this quite as much. It's not the most long wearing foundation that I've tried even from the drugstore. I would say this gives me a good solid 6 to 8 hour wear time before it starts to really fall apart and break down. But I rarely need my foundation to last much longer than that. On an average day, I am in my house by myself, not doing much of anything where I need my makeup to be looking good after, say, 6 o'clock in the evening. So a foundation that only lasts for about 6 hours works fine for me. If I needed my foundation to last for a really long time, this probably wouldn't be one that I would reach for, but I love how this looks on my skin on just an everyday basis. It's nice and glowy without being too glowy. It's hydrating, it's comfortable. But one more warning I want to give about this foundation is the applicator. If you're familiar with the original Wet n Wild applicator, you have this kind of paddle applicator right here. I never really minded this applicator very much, but the issue that you can have with this foundation because of its applicator is it is very difficult to control the amount of product that you're getting and control that in a consistent way. Sometimes I'll take a swipe of this on the back of my hand and I find one swipe's not quite enough, but 2 swipes is a little bit too much. So sometimes I end up having too much product, and when there's too much product, especially if I'm applying it with a brush, it does start to look really heavy and settle into especially the center area of my face, so right along the sides of my nose, in my smile lines. That is only an issue if I apply too much product, and for that reason I find using a damp sponge to be the best way to apply it, because a sponge generally is going to help you avoid that problem because it will pick up the excess product. So that's my preferred way of applying it, but keep that in mind. If you've tried this out and you felt like it was too heavy for you, try it out again and use a little bit less product and see if you feel differently about it, because the few times that I've used too much of this product, I feel completely differently about it than the times when I use a little bit less. But I've been really enjoying this month. It's a great everyday foundation for me. It has the perfect medium coverage and I just love the finish of it. The next complexion product I want to talk about is the e.l.f. Hydrating Concealer. I fell in love with this instantly, but I have a bit of a disclaimer to share with you guys. I did use this consistently for about a week and a half, and it did break me out pretty severely along the side of my nose and on my chin area. I had that trouble a little bit with their other concealer as well, but I'm still going to include it as a favorite because I love the way this looks on my skin, and I am still continuing to use it on just my under eye area. As long as I'm careful about just keeping it on my under eye area, the breakouts aren't an issue for me, but it is so perfect for my under eye area. It gives me really good medium to high coverage without being cakey. It's hydrating. I don't find it to settle too much into my fine lines. It's everything that I need a concealer to be for my under eyes, but I do love the formula of this, and I know not everyone will have issues with this breaking them out. So if you like the original, if it didn't break you out, if you felt like it was just a little bit too drying, I think you'll probably really love this stuff. I've been really enjoying this. Moving on to a bronzer, also from that same video where I tried out those products. This is the e.l.f. Primer Infused Bronzer in the color Forever Sunkissed. I am in love with this bronzer, you guys. It is fantastic. It's a perfect shade. It is quite warm, so if you are looking for more of like a contour or bronzer type of shade, this one is quite warm, but it's not orange, and it's just the right tone for me. I love the formula of this. It lasts really well on me. It's so quick and easy to apply. It's super smooth and creamy. It's just a really lovely, lovely bronzer. It actually reminds me a little bit of the Milk Chocolate Soleil bronzer, which is one of my favorites. It has that same kind of light, almost like milky, warm bronze tone that I just think is so pretty on the cheeks and so subtle. But I wanted to talk a little bit about this blush from e.l.f. This is the primer infused blush that I tried out in the shade Always Rosy. This blush was almost a favorite for me. It's just a little bit too bold for my liking. The pigment is a little bit too strong for me. I find this one to be a little bit tricky to apply without going over the top. Let me swatch it for you guys. I always forget to do this, but there it is right there. It actually doesn't look that intense on my finger, but on my cheeks, I always just find this one to be a little bit too intense. The formula is lovely. You can definitely make it work. And I would say if you have more of like a tan or medium tone or even deep tone skin, this might work great for you. I just find that I have to be a little bit too careful. And often I find I get a little too heavy handed and then I have to go in with my beauty sponge or even my foundation brush and almost take some of the pigment off because I went overboard. So it's just a little bit tricky of a color to work with. Let me know if you guys have tried out any of their other shades. If they have lighter shades than this, from looking at their website, I felt like this was one of the lighter shades that they offered, but I could be wrong. Let me know if you guys have other shade recommendations from this because I do like the formula. I just felt like the color was a little bit too intense. But I want to share with you guys a blush that I have fallen head over heels in love with, and it's this one right here from NARS. This is NARS blush in the color Madly. This is such a beautiful blush. Now, it's ridiculously expensive if you buy this full price. I was fortunate enough to find this at my Marshalls, and you guys, this is such a beautiful, soft, peachy, neutral blush. I love the way this looks. It is the perfect color. It's very buildable and soft. You can go in relatively heavy-handed and just still get the perfect amount of color. I love the peachy undertone to it. Let me swatch it for you guys. I know it's not going to show up. Blush swatches never show up, and I find the best blush swatches rarely show up. That one actually is showing up pretty well. As you can see, it's very, almost like a bronzy, milky peach. Oh, it's so pretty on the cheeks, you guys. It gives you like imperceptible color to your cheeks, so people don't know that you're wearing a blush, but you just look really healthy and amazing. I don't know that I would ever pay full price for it, but if you are someone that does love NARS blushes, or you don't mind paying a little bit more for a blush, this one is beautiful. Moving on to a highlighter. This is the Makeup Revolution Reloaded highlighter in the color Just My Type, and this is so beautiful. I bought this on the recommendation of Taylor Wynn here on YouTube, and it is such a beautiful, soft peach. It actually reminds me of like a slightly amped up version of the Essence Pure Nude highlighter. It has just a little bit more kick or a little bit more sheen to it. Beautiful formula though. I don't find this to emphasize texture too much. It's gorgeous and buttery and smooth and gives you just the right amount of intensity. And this color is just like my perfect highlight color. It's slightly warm, but it's not too light, but it's also not too deep. It's just right for my skin tone right now. I absolutely love this highlighter. Next, I want to talk about some eyeshadows. Now, these eyeshadows I have had such a roller coaster ride with. They are the bite-size eyeshadow palettes from e.l.f. I've kind of been back and forth with my thoughts on these palettes, and I finally landed in a place where I can say these are a favorite for a couple of reasons, but there are a couple catches, I guess, to these eyeshadows. I want to first mention this. I did just film a couple of days ago a makeup look using every single one of these, and I did it in kind of like the way Mel Thompson does it. If you watch her channel when she does multiple looks, sometimes she does a different look on each eye. So I took inspiration from her and tried to do it in that fashion until we got to the last look. I did the look on both eyes, but I had some issues in that video. Number one, I was trying to do one look with each palette, and that's where I think these palettes fall short. I don't think that I can get a good look from just one of these palettes. I find I need to reach into two of them to get a completed look. Pretty much every single one of these, in my opinion and for my preferences and my skin tone and how I like my eyeshadow to be, they're all missing at least one shade. So if you're going into these thinking that you're going to get a completed eye look out of just one of these, you might find that to be a little bit difficult. However, if you combine two of these together, so say that you take this one right here, which for me personally lacks something lighter in tone. If you combine that one with this one right here, which is the Cream and Sugar palette, this one right here, by the way, is the Berry Bad palette, this will give you a beautiful completed look. But this one on its own, not quite so much. I just didn't find this to be complete enough or have enough range in it, and I found that to be true for every single one of the palettes. I felt like they were lacking something. Right before I got all of my palettes in the mail, I saw Jen Phelps do a review of these, and she basically said that same thing. She said she really liked these but felt like you couldn't get a complete look out of them, and I now completely understand what she was talking about and completely agree. I think you really need to take into account the range that you're getting inside here and make sure that you get at least 2 that you feel like covers the range that you need from light to dark or in the colors that you need. I would definitely recommend whatever ones you pick up that you grab the cream and sugar palette, because this one is going to give you the lightest shimmer in the range and also the deepest matte brown in the range. As far as the formulas go, I think these formulas are all really nice. The mattes were easy to work with and blend. There were a couple of the deeper shades, like this one in the Rosewater palette was a little bit tricky to work with. I also found some of the deep browns in the Truffles palette could be a little bit patchy at times, but they weren't bad, and for the price you can definitely make them work. I wanted to give you guys a quick heads up though. That video where I did a look with each of these palettes, I'm hoping to put up next week. I haven't actually edited that video yet. And I'm a little bit nervous to edit it because I had some trouble with the looks in there. And I think that was number one because I feel like I couldn't complete a satisfactory look with just one of the palettes, but I wanted to use them alone for you guys so you could see what each palette could do. So a lot of those looks I didn't end up liking very much. And I ended up going with this one right here, which is the Carnival Candy palette. This blue in this palette is really beautiful. I put this all over my lid, but I didn't feel like I had the other shadows that I needed to complete that look. And so that look completely stumped me. I basically put this all over my lid and then I could not complete that look. And I just gave up and moved on, and I felt like I was in a bad mood the rest of that video. So I'm a little bit afraid that when I edit that video that I'm probably going to come across as not really loving these. But as I've tried using them, combining them with each other, my thoughts have changed a lot. And I will say that these are definitely great little palettes as long as you get a couple of different ones. So I wanted to mention these as a favorite. On their own, not a favorite, but when combined together, definitely a favorite, especially for the price. And if you're looking for something that's very travel friendly, budget friendly, I think that you will love these, knowing that you need a couple of them to complete a look. So the next thing that I've really been loving this month is this mascara from Milani. This is their highly rated mascara. I don't actually love this mascara all by itself on its own, but I've been loving this as a first layer mascara for layering my mascaras. This is a really good like base coat mascara. It gives you good separation, it gives you a little bit of volume, a little bit of length, and when you add another one of your favorite mascaras on top of it, it just takes your lashes to the next level. I've been loving this with my Tony Moly mascara on top of it. I've tried it with my Essence Volume Stylist and loved that one. I love my Collab mascara on top of this one. I've just really been enjoying layering mascaras lately, and this is the one that I love the very most as like my first layers. So I wouldn't necessarily say run out and buy this mascara, but if you have it and you didn't love it on its own, maybe try layering it underneath some of your favorite mascaras and see if you like it a little bit better, because I've been loving that and doing it pretty much every single day. Let's move on to a couple of lip products that I've really been loving lately. First off, this one right here. This is a lip liner from Essence. This is their 8-hour lip liner. This one's in the color 01 because duh. I love this lip liner because it has the best lasting power of any lip pencil that I have in my collection. I feel like lip pencils often make the claim that they're long wearing, but rarely are they actually long wearing. This one does last really, really well though. I've been really impressed with the longevity of this underneath anything else I put it under. Even when I put it under a gloss, it lasts really well on my lips and gives my lips color and definition for hours. That's pretty rare for a lip liner for me. Normally, I find most lip liners or lip products in general, unless I'm using a liquid lipstick, wear off after about 4 hours at the most. This one seems to last much better on me. I really have been loving this. It's a really nice color. It's a great nude. If you're medium to fair skinned, I definitely recommend it. It was extremely affordable. I think I paid about $2.99 for this thing, maybe even less than that. So if you're looking for a lip pencil that actually lasts and is super affordable, this is one I would recommend. As for a favorite lipstick, I am in love with these new lipsticks by Wet n Wild. I only have one of them. I keep meaning to go back and pick up a couple more shades because this was a lipstick I fell in love with instantly. If you are not aware, when Wet n Wild came out with their Dewy foundation, they also repackaged a lot of their lipsticks. They have this packaging in black, which are their original matte lipsticks. If you guys remember the original matte lipsticks from Wet n Wild that people talked about forever, I still have a couple of them. They looked like this. They have now repackaged these with this little lip detail on them. I haven't tried those ones out yet. I don't know if the formula is the same. I may give a couple of them a try and let you guys know. But this one in the white packaging, these are a creamy, shiny, lightweight lipstick. They almost remind me of like a hybrid between a creamy lipstick and a lip gloss. I've said this before, but they remind me so much of the L'Oreal, are these the Coloris Shine lipsticks. I think that's what these are called. Yeah. But the formula reminds me a lot of these. They give you really good color, tons of beautiful shine. They are so comfortable, and I love the color of this one. I'm not actually wearing this one today because it is a little bit more of like a cool toned pink, and I didn't feel like it went with this look very well, but I love this lipstick, and I've been wearing it so often over the last 3 weeks. So far, I think the packaging of these is a little bit better than these ones. However, these original lipsticks, some of the lids get loose and fall off, and that's just something with Wet n Wild in general that I feel like you have to be cautious about. I'm still not sure this is a lipstick I would be comfortable just randomly throwing into my purse, because over time I would be willing to bet that this lid could possibly get loose, and if you've ever had a lipstick that lost its lid inside your purse, you'll know the nightmare that that can become. So Wet n Wild's packaging, even though it's kind of cute with this little Pat McGrath knockoff lip on there, we'll see how it holds up over time, but at $2, if you don't mind less than luxurious packaging, I think you will really, really enjoy these. Another lipstick favorite of mine is this one right here. This is from Almay. I picked up a new shade of this in the color Worry Less. I have 3 of these now, and this is probably, no, I will say most definitely my favorite shade so far. It's this one right here. It's a beautiful, cooler toned pinky nude. I love this color so much, and I love the formula of these. They are the perfect formula for me. They are very creamy. They have a good amount of pigment, but they're also not overly pigmented where they get kind of gloopy and messy. They wear really well. They're easy to reapply. The packaging is adorable. I just love everything about these lipsticks in general. And so far, this is my favorite shade. I do want to pick up one more shade. They have a more peach toned nude that I haven't tried yet. I'm excited to pick that one up because honestly, guys, these are some of my favorite lipsticks lately, and one of the ones that I have been reaching for the very most. So those are the things that I have been really loving this month. I do want to mention one thing that is a bit of a fail for me, and one thing that has been kind of like a so-so in the middle. First, let's talk about the fail, and unfortunately it is the e.l.f. Putty Eye Primer. I was kind of on the fence about how I felt about this when I first tried it, but as I've consistently been trying this, there's just a couple things that I don't love about this. I don't think it does a bad job as far as holding your shadow in place, but I think there's better primers out there, and I feel like this is just so stiff. I wish it was creamier. I find this to be very stiff and dry and difficult to get on my eyes, and I almost feel like once I put this on, my eyelids look even drier and more aged than they did before I put this on. And that's never a good place to start when you're putting eyeshadow on your eyelids, especially if you are someone that is over, say, 30, 35, 40. You want something that's going to help with the aging issues on your eyelids, and I just don't find this to be that product. I was so hopeful about it because the idea behind this type of a product, like the MAC paint pots, which by the way I've never tried, I love the idea of something that's going to hold my shadow in place but also kind of cancel out all the color on my lids, but this just was too dry of a formula to do that. I also found some shadows to be a little bit patchy blending on top of this, and if those sound like concerns that you might have, I would probably pass on this as well. But really quickly, I want to talk about the Natasha Denona Love Palette. This palette, for me, for now, I feel like fell just short of being an absolute favorite for the month. I really feel like I kind of jumped the gun when it came to the color story of this palette. This is what I think really happened. You probably know how in love I am with her Sunrise palette. It is one of my favorites. So when I saw that she was coming out with another 15 pan $65 palette, I was immediately sold before I even saw the color story. I think I got a little bit excited and I thought, oh, pinks and purples. I like pinks and purples, and I don't actually have a lot of pinks and purples. This is the perfect palette for me. But what I didn't realize is that this is just a pink and purple palette. And normally when I'm wearing a pink or a purple look, I like to pair my pinks or purples with some neutrals. So either a soft brown in the crease or a deep brown in the outer corner to kind of tone things down a little bit. This is a palette that is for a diehard pink and purple fan. I mean, these looks are like intensely pink and purple, perhaps to a degree that's a little bit outside of my personal comfort zone. I do think her formula is amazing. And the thing I like about her formula is that it's not just one formula. You get a lot of variety of formulas in here, which if you are an eyeshadow junkie that likes to experiment and play, I think you would enjoy her formulas because there are a lot of them inside here. But I just wish this had more neutrals in it. That is my own fault because it's obvious that this is not a neutral palette. Now, I won't necessarily say I regret buying this because I think this is one that I will enjoy using on occasion. I just feel like for an on occasion palette, $65 is an awful lot of money, and I probably shouldn't have spent that and possibly waited. Natasha, if you happen to be watching this, I know she's not, but let's pretend. If you were to come out with a palette this size that is a little bit more Biba-esque, as in heavy on the neutrals, that would just rock my world. But that's kind of my thoughts on the Love palette. I like it, but on its own, I don't love it. Alright you guys, and with that, that is it for my favorite products from the month of February. These are all the things I've really been enjoying, but I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. As always, I would love to hear from you guys. What new or old favorite have you guys been really enjoying during this last month? Let me know in the comments down below, but I hope that you guys are having a good one. Thank you guys again for stopping by. If you are new, if you have not yet subscribed, please be sure to do that before you leave, and I will see all of you guys in my next video. Bye! It's actually only 36 degrees outside today. But we are wearing a denim jacket and pretending like it's spring. But it is done. That is that. If you are curious about my full thoughts on this palette, although I just talked about it for 5 minutes, but if you're curious about hearing even more about this palette and how I created 7 looks with it, I will link that for you guys. Which side is it that I do that? I will link that for you guys right here. Why can I never get that straight? There, yeah. But any of you that have or have had teenagers, this is how this conversation is going to go. How do tryouts go? Good. How'd you do? Fine. How'd you hit? Eh.